A big opportunity for Curt Hennig to take down the great Nick Bockwinkel, an all-timer when it comes to being the AWA World Heavyweight Champion. One of the main stars. When you think of the AWA World Championship, Nick Bockwinkel is one of those names that first comes to mind. Traveling all over, defending the AWA World Championship, defending it against some of the greatest, the likes of Tony Atlas, the likes of Dusty Rhodes, the likes of Bruiser Brody, just to name a few. This young man, Curt Hennig, is next at bat to take his swing at Nick Bockwinkel and the AWA World Championship. Bockwinkel quick, but so is Hennig to turn it around. Right back to a vertical base are both men as they tie up collar and elbow. It's as classic as it gets. Keep to the basics. However, when it comes to the basics have always been in favor of Nick Bockwinkel. It's a matter of trying to power out and sat out to break the grip of Bockwinkel around the waist of Curt Hennig. Again, they go for a tie-up, but Bockwinkel's quick to go after that arm. The left arm of Hennig driving down. It puts a lot of torque on that tricep. Nice counter by Hennig with an arm drag to turn it around. The longer you have a move like that applied, the more damage that is done. Hennig knows that very well, and the way he shifts his weight as soon as he possibly can to prevent serious damage from happening, it's brilliant, especially when the stakes are so high. And with such a tough opponent, a tough champion in Nick Bockwinkel, it's a long way to the top for Curt Hennig if he's going to take this AWA World title. It certainly isn't impossible. However, I can say many have tried in the past. While some have eventually gone on to defeat Nick Bockwinkel, Bockwinkel always manages to find the AWA World title back in his grasps with a cheap shot to Hennig. It never surprises me what Bockwinkel is willing to do to his opponents. There have been multiple occasions where Bockwinkel is just willing to take the disqualification to make sure he leaves as the champion. I've witnessed it time and time again with my own eyes. So there's no surprise there. Right now, it's that pace for pace, trying to block each other and take control of this matchup. Right now, it's Hennig who finds himself on top of Bockwinkel, with Bockwinkel in a tough spot right now. It's Hennig who could be putting himself in position to become the AWA Heavyweight Champion of the world. Trying to shift the weight is Bockwinkel as he works back up. Back up to one knee is Bockwinkel. However, all the weight, all the muscle of Curt Hennig wrapped around the neck of Bockwinkel, but Bockwinkel creates separation only to be taken down. Very few occasions do you see Nick Bockwinkel meet his match. Oh. And only enough for two on Nick Bockwinkel. The crowd is loving it. Curt Hennig doing what he can to drive Bockwinkel into the mat to get both shoulders down for a pinfall. Bockwinkel is wise as can be to keep the pressure back, to make sure that one shoulder is off of the mat. The life is being squeezed. And it's Hennig who managed to keep the grip applied. Bockwinkel tried to fight it off, pushing back on the head to alleviate the pressure, and it just didn't go Bockwinkel's way. Curt Hennig and his mean streak has been the difference maker between himself and a lot of the younger talent. A lot of the younger pro wrestlers, that's what separates Hennig. So if there's anyone that can do it, it's Hennig. However, it's no easy task. Nick Bockwinkel starting to find his footing again. This could be dangerous if Bockwinkel can find his footing. Hennig took down. Side headlock takeover, quick to reverse. Going back and forth and back and forth. It seemed for a split second that Bockwinkel may have found himself an opening. Just when Bockwinkel thought that was the case, Curt Hennig denied his request, driving Bockwinkel right back into the mat with this side headlock. However, it's Bockwinkel trying to fight back up. Back up to one knee. The fans are getting rowdy. Bockwinkel with a shot to the midsection. Another blow. And finally fights off Hennig into the corner. Stiff shots from the champion to his challenger. Now it's Hennig who goes in with some heavy artillery on Nick Bockwinkel in the corner. Certainly rattled Bockwinkel a little bit there. Again, returning to that side headlock. Bockwinkel doing what he can to block it. Oh, what a shot to the chest. Nobody home as Bockwinkel gets out of the way. And through the top and middle rope onto the floor, Curt Hennig went at full speed ahead. Nothing there but concrete. Perhaps a rough landing as Hennig tries to shake off the damage done to the arm. Bockwinkel gets in a couple shots while standing on the apron. Hennig could be experiencing some damage to the left elbow based on the landing of going through the ropes after Nick Bockwinkel was able to get out of harm's way. The ref is starting his count. Bockwinkel meets Hennig there. That will stop the count. Now going to work on the arm. Dropped a knee on the arm of Curt Hennig. With an opening, this is where Nick Bockwinkel becomes so dangerous. The blood can be smelled in the water. In these treacherous waters, Nick Bockwinkel has become a shark to feast on his prey. Pushing everything down on the shoulder of Curt Hennig. You gotta wonder for Curt Hennig, what's it gonna take? Yeah, he had a great start to this matchup and control for a very long time up until Nick Bockwinkel sidestepped and Curt Hennig's own momentum was used against him when he went through the ropes and had a rough landing on the concrete floor, hurting his arm. That has been the game changer of this match, and that is what Nick Bockwinkel's been going to work on. Trying to separate the arm from the socket of the shoulder. Stretching the arm. That's Larry Zbyszko watching on. Nick Bockwinkel doing a great job. Once he found his opening, it's been all up from there for Nick Bockwinkel. And what seemed like it was going to be a good night for Curt Hennig, it's found a whole new opening for Nick Bockwinkel. A lot of boos, a lot of chanting for Larry Sucks. Certainly making his presence known just by being there in a tuxedo. Curt Hennig managed to get a power slam. However, Nick Bockwinkel is right back on the drive. Right back. Has control of the shoulder. Wrenching back on the arm. You heard Curt Hennig say, "I will never give up." If that's the case, if he has that mentality, this match may either never end, or we could very well find ourselves seeing the beginning of a new era, a new world's champion. However, right now, with Nick Bockwinkel controlling the damage that Bockwinkel continues to do to the left arm of Hennig, it seems the furthest from the truth, with Hennig trying to get back in this. However, it's Bockwinkel. Oh! Getting the knee up was a brilliant idea to stop the momentum. However, only for a boot to capture the victory. Not quite. Nick Bockwinkel countering the momentum from Curt Hennig into a boot to the tip of the skull. With a tip of the boot to the skull. A lot of punishment being applied. Curt Hennig has shown that he is the utmost capable of being the AWA heavyweight champion. Great resilience he has. Again, another shot of Zbyszko, who is watching this match very closely. Zbyszko, a tremendous wrestler in his own right. Has a key lock. Driving Hennig right into the mat. Continuing to find a way to do as much damage to the arm as possible. This is classic in the playbook of Nick Bockwinkel. It always has been. Going after his opponent's arm. It's always been a good weak point for Nick Bockwinkel to go after. You take out your opponent's arm, you take a good bit out of their playbook. However, right now, it's Hennig trying to shift the weight and drive Bockwinkel's shoulders into the mat. Bockwinkel's quick to use the power in his legs to push himself up and remove his shoulders off the mat. How does Curt Hennig find an exit out of this? Hennig's been in this for about a minute or so now. He's got to find a way to get out. We are here at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, California. It's all about the gold. The AWA World Heavyweight Championship being defended by Nick Bockwinkel. Now it's Curt Hennig, the challenger, finding himself in control. And a kick to the back of the leg of Bockwinkel. The hamstring getting hammed and rammed by Curt Hennig. Now it's Curt Hennig finding a weak point in the champion. Much the same that Nick Bockwinkel exploited the left arm of Curt Hennig. Curt Hennig is now doing to the left knee of Nick Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel doesn't want it. Doesn't want any part of the figure four leg lock. In dangerous territory. The danger zone, no man's land, could be forced to tap out. The humiliation that it would cause Nick Bockwinkel if he were to lose the AWA World Championship via submission, being forced to tap out. All the pressure applied onto Nick Bockwinkel. It could be game over. Trying to hold on to the referee for dear life. For that second there was Nick Bockwinkel to do anything he can to get this submission hold to be forced off. It's as painful as it gets. A lot of damage done to the knee, the leg. Nick Bockwinkel. There it is. With both hands on the ropes. The hold has been broken. Nick Bockwinkel, you can hear him writhing in pain. This is that mean streak I was talking about earlier. Despite the ref telling Curt Hennig, hey, you got to get off the ropes. You got to get off of Bockwinkel because Bockwinkel's on the ropes. He's still going for it. He's utilizing 4 out of the 5 second count wisely because you don't want to get yourself disqualified. So stopping at the count of 4 prevents that from happening. Curt Hennig, knowing that very well, that mean streak could be the difference maker in becoming the AWA World Champion. Pulling on the hair, finding any way to put this match in his favor again. Nick Bockwinkel has gone to some of the most high of extremities to overcome his challengers, his toughest of opponents. And a shot to the head by Bockwinkel. Survived is Curt Hennig at the count of 2. And a knee to the midsection. Both men are down and out. And again, another shot at Larry Zbyszko watching on. Bockwinkel went for the cover on Curt Hennig. Both men were thinking the same thing at the same time. Both men went for a hard right. Both men took a stumble and a tumbling fall. Again, back up to their feet. Bockwinkel gets the start of the exchange. Driving Curt Hennig's face into the top turnbuckle. The ref's count goes on. Nick Bockwinkel has never been afraid to get himself disqualified in any of his title matches, being that via disqualification, the champion leaves as the title holder. The title cannot change hands via countout or disqualification. A rule that Nick Bockwinkel knows beyond well. A knife edge chop coming in hot from Hennig, only to be hard whipped like heavy cream into the corner. Nick Bockwinkel tried to put away Hennig following that hard whip into the corner to Curt Hennig. Hennig bouncing off the buckles, crashed into the mat. Still wasn't enough to keep him down. Up and over, sunset flip. Look at that athleticism. Great agility by the challenger. Just planting Bockwinkel into the mat. And again, Bockwinkel planted head first into the mat. It's been a thrill since the bell rang. It's time to shine for one of these two men. Right now, it's Hennig. Is it a new beginning? A new era? And an atomic drop. The gluteus maximus driven into the knee. Tried to roll up for victory, but a shot to the midsection by Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel on for the clothesline. Crossbody, crossbody, crossbody. Oh, and a 2 count. That came out of nowhere, that crossbody. What a stiff shot. And now a knife edge. A jackknife pinfall. Curt Hennig has found new life in this matchup. Could be time. And there it is. Game over. However, Nick Bockwinkel, being the ring general that he is, very wise in finding those bottom ropes to force the rope break. What could have been game over. Nick Bockwinkel kept himself alive in this match. Pile driver! Spiking the champion into the mat. The offense is coming in hot as Hennig follows up with a drop kick. Will it be this time? And again, it's Bockwinkel who manages to kick out before 3. Hennig sent Bockwinkel hard in the corner, only for Bockwinkel to explode out with a clothesline. But in doing so, Bockwinkel fell forward in the mat with all the energy that has been exerted throughout this match. How does this match end? Who is going to take this home? Bockwinkel backdrop suplex. Pulled it out of the bag. I don't know where Bockwinkel was able to pull that one from, but he managed to do it. Sending Hennig into the ropes. Being in such close proximity following the release from the ropes. An interesting collision. Larry Zbyszko, he said something to Hennig, not quite sure what. And a KO punch. Good night. Was there something in the hand? What just happened? What did Larry Zbyszko say? It looks like something was just hidden in the tights. Nonetheless, that's it. We got a new AWA World Heavyweight Champion. It has been done. The accomplishment. Curt Hennig has defeated the one, the only Nick Bockwinkel. Larry Zbyszko had it planned out. I don't know what was handed to Curt Hennig or what was said to Curt Hennig. Whatever happened, Curt Hennig has that AWA World Heavyweight Championship wrapped around his waist in all of its glory. That gold shines around a new champion. And his name is Curt Hennig.